everyone, Phoenix Knight here. Welcome to the channel, and welcome to Mystical Munchies featuring the Dungeonmeister Cookbook. First up this month, we're going to have the appetizer, Remarkably Movable Rods, which looks like it's going to be candied bacon. As this cookbook does have stories, let's tell this one. We'll admit it, we're over the immovable rod. It's versatile, sure, but it's played out. So set it aside and try these delightful strips of caramelized, nutty bacon. They tend to move exceptionally fast and will never remain where you left them, but the difference in edibility is remarkable. Please note that oven-baked bacon doesn't crisp much when cooling, so let these cook to your preferred level of crisp before removing to cool. Good to know on that front. As usual, the ingredients are waiting for us at the table, so let's move in that direction. For this recipe, we're going to need half a cup each of light brown sugar and chopped pecans or walnuts. I'm using walnuts here. A quarter teaspoon of cayenne pepper, half a pound of thick cut bacon cut in half crosswise, which is a horizontal cut rather than a lengthwise, which would be a vertical cut, and 2 tablespoons of maple syrup. You can also see I've done the first step of the recipe, which is line a baking sheet with aluminum foil and place a wire rack on top. This is actually the wire rack baking sheet combo that I've used before on Mystical Munchies. You're probably hearing the oven chirping in the background as well. I'm bringing that up to 400 degrees. So with that, let's move into the kitchen and start putting this recipe together. We've got the food processor in shop because we're going to need it for the first step of the actual prep of the recipe. So we're going to start off with half a cup of the walnuts. Look at that, almost right on the dot. Actually, we're going to have, I think, a little more than that, but we'll just finish the bag off. Close enough for jazz. And half a cup of the brown sugar. Oh boy. Okay. Right there's our half a cup of sugar, of brown sugar. Hang on, let me see if I can lift that out to try to get the last little bit of sugar back in. Oop. And I put it right back out again. There we go. I think we got it. See if I can put that right back in place, and I forgot to put a blade in here, so hold on a second while I grab the blade out. Where on earth is the blade for the food? Ah, here we are. Blade would have been moderately helpful to put in there from the jump, but good thing I remembered before I started pulsing it. And we'll see if we can get it in here. That should work. Okay. Now I'll put the top back on. I'll go ahead and get the brown sugar bagged up. I'm just getting the brown sugar put away before I start pulsing the food processor until the nuts are finely chopped. Put that up, and here's your 5-second warning before I start pulsing the food processor. pulse it a little bit more. I think that's probably, we'll give it one more pulse, I think, but I think the nuts are pretty finely chopped at this point. So now we're going to add in the cayenne pepper, and then we'll pulse it to combine. I can probably move that out of the way for the time being. At least add the cayenne pepper in. There we are. Okay. And there is a note on this recipe where if you have a vulnerability to heat, you may find yourself viewing this ingredient list with some trepidation. But fear not. The cayenne is there to provide a necessary balance that keeps this mystical meat candy zippy and balanced. That said, if you're dedicated in your avoidance of the hotter spices, you can always substitute an equivalent amount of dry mustard, which will produce similar results with less heat. So we're going to make the recipe as usual on Mystical Munchies, unless I have a good reason to modify a recipe, I'll generally make it as is the first time, and then we might kick it over to a potential modification in the future. But in this case, we're going to make the recipe as is. So now we want to pulse this to combine. And once again, 5-second warning before I turn the food processor on again. Let's see if I can break this. See if I can get some of this off the edges a little bit so I can combine it a little better. Actually, let's do this. I'll just open it up and scrape down the edges like so. That way we don't have the clumps forming along the walls. Alright, here we go again. Unfortunately, I think we're going to get that no matter what we do here. But we'll try to at least combine it as much as we can. We may only need to give it like 1 or 2 more pulses probably before everything's combined to where we want it. So let's give it 1 or 2 more pulses. We're still waiting. I am still waiting for the oven to come to temperature. Alright, I think that's probably about as good as it's going to get. So, now since we are still waiting for the oven to come to temperature, I will go ahead and bring the wire rack and the baking sheet in shot. Now we're going to take the bacon that we cut in half crosswise and put it on the baking sheet, ideally with none of the bacon touching, but this is a fairly, well, I was going to say a fairly small baking sheet, so we might not be able to get that perfectly lined up, but we'll see what we can do here. I think we're probably going to have some of the bacon ultimately touching here, but really no help for that, I don't think. I think no matter how we turn this, we're going to end up with bacon touching anyway. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to end up with bacon touching here. Try to get this down as tight as I can, but probably move some of this over. Okay. There's the oven coming up to temperature. Almost on cue as I'm getting the bacon ready to go in. I don't think all this bacon's even going to fit on here without it touching, so there's really no help for that, I don't think. So yeah, I think we're going to end up with bacon touching here. I don't think the world will end particularly if we've got bacon touching here. So we're just going to get it all on here. Okay. We got 2 more pieces on here. Perfect. I'll give my hands a quick wash. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and put that in the oven. We'll head over toward the oven. And we'll put this in for 5 minutes. So we'll come back to this once I get the timer set in about 5 minutes. The 5-minute timer just went off on the bacon, so now it's out of the oven. Now we're going to take the brown sugar and nut mixture and we're going to sprinkle it on the bacon. I know it's going to be a lousy sprinkle job, but no help for that. Oh, gotta be careful. Actually, I should probably... Once I sprinkle this, I'm actually going to lift the blade out of the food processor so I don't cut myself on that. Okay, now that we're done with that, now we can get more of the sugar. Okay. Let's see if we can lift the... There we go. I was going to say, let's see if we can lift the bowl of the food processor out, but we got it there. Okay. Alright, I'll give my hands a quick wash. Before we take the maple syrup, which was of course bought fresh today. Well, from the grocery store anyway, not like from the farm or anything like that. And we're going to drizzle this on the... We're going to drizzle this all over the mixture. Okay. All right. Now with that done and me dropping the lid, me dropping the cap. There we go. Damn it! Sorry for the language there. Just trying to get this lid on was proving a little bit more of a challenge than I would have liked, but now we got it. So. Now we're going to return that to the oven and bake for 20 to 25 minutes until the bacon has reached my preferred level of crispness, checking occasionally to prevent burning. So, we're going to put this back in the oven. I'll move the camera just slightly. There we are. We'll set the timer for 25 minutes. We'll come back to the recipe in about an hour when we've given it some time to cool. And then we'll take a look at the finished product, and then we'll head over to my desk for the taste test. So we'll come back in about an hour. Here's our first look at the finished product of the bacon. Everything looks great, clumped together a bit, but I don't think we can help that. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and plate some of this up, and then I'll meet you guys back in my desk for the taste test. I've got some of the bacon right here for the taste test, so let's give this a taste and see what I think of it. Definitely crispy coming off the wire rack, but let's see what I think. It's actually pretty good. Sweet on top, still bacony on the underside. I'm surprised I didn't have you turn it over and drizzle the other side, but maybe that's part of the charm of it, where you've got the sweetness on top and then the bacon flavor underneath it. So, I don't know, I could see making this again, but whoa! Hold on, now I'm getting the aftertaste of the cayenne. Definitely some heat to this one, but it's actually kind of a welcome heat, truth be told. It does provide that balance. I'm just not sure I like it being an afterkick like that. But that is another episode of Mystical Munchies in the books. Next week on Mystical Munchies, we're going to make the side marshmallow golems, which look to be sweet potato casserole bites. As for the games, tomorrow we're starting the spring campaign in Arkham Horror, the card game, as the dreamers go beyond the gates of sleep. And Wednesday we're playing our first football game on the channel, as we play Glory Days Pro Football from Sideline Strategy Games. Thank you for watching the video. Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Be sure to turn on notifications so you get my content. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves and your loved ones, and I'll be back with more videos in the future. Until then, take care everyone.